So I feel like we've covered sort of the history of LL, but I remember when we first met, you used to shut down the entire store for Black Friday.
Yeah, we really went down a road there.
The black.
We went down a road there talking about LL and sustainability and stuff. But yeah, so rewind a little bit. I guess 2 years before COVID.
2019 was our first year we did.
2019, yeah. Oh, okay, so yeah, I guess a year before
COVID.
Yeah, we used to always shut down. Yeah, we used to, REI in the States, I think, started that movement. They have a hashtag for get outside or go outside. Or, I'm going to butcher it right now, but it's...
Was that REI? It wasn't Patagonia?
I think it was... somebody needs to fact check this, but...
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure that it was REI that originally started the shutdown in the States, and they did a whole campaign around it, basically called like "Get Outside" or something like that during Black Friday, and basically pushing people to change the conversation or think differently about this huge consumerism holiday that we have. And I really liked that. I thought it was super cool, and it very much aligned with our values, obviously, with what we were trying to create at LL. Like, we were never really, we wanted people to take care in what they were purchasing and purchase less higher quality items. And I think that really kind of goes against like the core, what people, core kind of message of Black Friday, where it's like, get as much shit as you can on sale.
As much as you can for as cheap as you can.
As much as you can for as cheap as you can. And that's why I was like, this is cool. Like, I like the idea of closing. So we would shut down the store. We would shut down the website.
I remember that. I was shocked by that.
Yeah.
I remember when I first
we would
learned
shut
that.
down the website for the whole weekend.
I was upset by that, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, you're not the only one. So yeah, that's how it started. We used to shut down, and then I guess after doing it, so in 2019, we'd been in business for kind of like 2.5 years. Something like that. Yeah. I'm terrible with remembering like dates, and
That's
why we got
like
Brett.
2016 or something.
Yeah, 2016, and then I think like 2018, 2019 were like our bigger years where we started to actually, it was like more of a full-time job. So yeah, we were shutting the store down for the whole weekend, and we would just have like a black website. Like we just put up a black page as the website. But you weren't the only one that was upset that we did it, because and I realized, I guess that after hearing from customers and stuff, that maybe that like perception that Black Friday is like buy as much shit as you can is coming from a bit of a place of privilege, where like if you have if you're in a position where you can buy as much shit as you can on sale, then you can. But for a lot of people, I think it's also about accessibility. And if they want to get gifts for their family, or they maybe have been looking at buying something, let's say a Patagonia jacket that they maybe can't ever afford, but they really want to buy something sustainable, they can, go get a, whatever $100 jacket that is just, no sustainability aspect to it, or a $500, $400 Patagonia jacket. That's just not in the realm of opportunity for them. But maybe on Black Friday, when it's 40% off, they can afford it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had a little bit of, honest criticism from people just saying, oh, that's really, like, I'm bummed out that you're closing. Like, I was hoping that I would be able to like buy some Christmas gifts for my family. Your products are, a little bit more expensive, and I wanted to, shop on this so I could afford it. So yeah, that's kind of where we were like, oh shit, like, maybe we need to reconsider our reasoning behind this. But we still wanted to do something that was meaningful. Like, we didn't want to just be like, okay, well, let's just do a sale. So that's how we started the conversation around Blue Friday. And we were like, okay, well, if we're going to do something, and Patagonia was actually the ones that, so I don't know if they never closed, but the last number of years, they've actually been donating 100% of their profits to environmental causes on Black Friday. So they stay open, they sell, but they donate everything.
Wow.
I don't even think it's profits, actually. I think it's 100% of sales. Don't quote me on that.
No,
Fact check this
they're
again.
pretty big.
Fact check this again,
They
but
could afford to do it.
It might be 100% of sales from Black Friday. So Yeah, I mean, Patagonia leading the way with epic initiatives. So we tried to model something after that for Blue Friday.
Was this a conversation that you and Maya?
Yes.
Yeah.
Got to shout out Maya.
Yeah.
When you said founder of Blue Friday, co-founder. When you said founder of Blue Friday, I was like, Maya should be here hashing this out with me.
I mean, she would be if she wasn't living her life in
she's
Portugal
in
and Europe and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
living that remote work life dream. So Maya was working alongside me during this whole period at LL. That kind of like latter years of where we were seeing some success. And so we kind of sat down and we started brainstorming of how we could do something differently on Blue Friday or on Black Friday. And we came up with the whole Blue Friday thing and concept of donating all of our profit from the day. We weren't big enough to donate our like a cost that could have got dangerous, but we were going to donate all the profit from our sales over the whole weekend to a specific cause. And then we talked about, what do we want that cause to look like? Do we want to just donate to a charity? And we definitely felt we wanted it to go directly into a project, not necessarily a charity. I don't always love donating to charities, and I understand the requirement for management, but I think it's really powerful when you have like a tangible impact, where you can have a measurable impact where my money did this. I think there's a place for everything, and there's definitely a place for just, good, donations to general charities that are doing good things and are managed by great people. But for us, we wanted to make it about a tangible and measurable impact. So not only were we donating for something, we would be able to say, this is what our donation did for the environment. We removed, X amount of plastic from the ocean, or we, covered whatever initiative it was. So that was sort of the initial inspiration. And it was just going to be us. We were just like, we'll just do this as LL. Like, this will be our thing.
And then how did you branch out from that? Because obviously not obviously, but it did end up being much more and has grown. So where was that transition from just you as LL to deciding that you wanted other people to be on board? I'd like to think, I'm like, was it a conversation with us?
I was just about to say, I was going to say, I think you could answer that probably just as good as, or if not better than me. I think it was because it was the first year we were going to do it alone, and then we never ended up doing it alone. There was like 8 companies in our first year of operation. So I think we, and you came on right away.
It was kind of a no-brainer. I honestly don't really remember the exact logistics. I feel like what might have happened was you might have just been telling us about it, and we were like, well, that just makes sense.
Yeah, can we get involved?
Is there something that we can do? Is there some way that we can help? I don't really remember how it expanded beyond that.
I think, I don't know. Back to my comment of I was upset that you were not doing it. The reason of that was, and this is just the philosophy that you and Maya developed with Blue Friday, was that if you have a really good product, don't take it away from people when they're gonna spend money. Like Black Friday, Blue Friday, whatever, that day, November 25th, in and around there every year, people are spending. So if all these really rad, amazing companies that are doing things properly just take their products off the market, that money just flows into a less desirable direction, let's say. Yeah. Right? So I remember thinking that, and Amy and I talked about that, and I was like, I don't think Jeff, I don't think he should be doing Blackout. He should be participating, right? He should be participating in something. I'm not the idea guy. I'm more of a logistical guy. But then when you guys told us, this is what we're doing, and I was like, yes, that's it. Let's do it too. And then we just immediately jumped in with you, and off we went to the first year.
Yeah, I think you were the first partner with us, and then I got to give credit to Maya here, because I don't think she was the one that was put in charge of kind of coordinating and running the first.
She's a coordinator.
She's a beast. Yeah.
100%.
Shout out to Maya. Yeah. I hope to steal her back from Andy one day. You're on notice, Andy. Maya's amazing. So we were working together, and we kind of conceptualized the whole branding and the ideology and the mission statement and what we wanted to create, why we wanted to create it. Obviously came up with the came up with a name and that, and then she was kind of largely in charge of like PR and a lot of the stuff we were doing from marketing initiatives at that point for LL. So she kind of spearheaded it. I know we talked to you guys. I know you were the first ones in, and then I think it kind of just grew from there, like businesses within our own network that first year.
Yeah.
So it was all Victoria companies.
Yeah.
I'd love to shout everyone out right now, but I'm not going to remember them all. But
Zero Waste Emporium was in
know
there.
they were.
Sitka, ecologist.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were sick at the time. They're ecologists now.
Yeah.
They were in.
There were 7, and I can't. I mean, the years are all kind of.
You started.
I know.
You started now.
The years are all kind of
They're
blending
kind of
together.
together.
But they were all people that we
Salt would
had.
have been in, I think.
Yeah,
Jess
Salt
was in the first
probably.
year, yeah.
They were all people that we definitely had personal or business connections
Yeah.
with. It's definitely grown beyond that now, where there's businesses that sign up for Blue Friday, and none of us really even. We have to ask how they found us.
Yeah.
But that first year with 7 businesses was very much through the
we also
through the grapevine.
We got together in the LL store and remember?
Oh yeah.
We ordered pizza and we had a nice little meeting about how it was going to go.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was rad.
Yeah.
Very grassroots.
Very grassroots. And yeah, honestly, so I'd love to say that I had this like grand vision for it when we started, but it wasn't. It was meant to initially be an initiative that we were going to do because we wanted to stay open, and we also didn't want to sort of participate in the, the chaos of Black Friday. So yeah, but the first year we had 8 businesses. I don't remember what we raised the first year. It was like 15 grand or something like that.
Yeah, between 12 and 15,000.
Yeah.
We did 12.
12 the first year, yeah. So, we installed 2 C-bins, 2 C-bins in our first year. And then, you guys know the rest of the story. It's been,
Yeah, but everybody else hasn't yet.
this is our fourth, this is our 4th year?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our 4th
This is
year
our
running
4th year
it.
now. So, the second year was mid-COVID. So it was a little.
Almost didn't do it.
We almost didn't do it, yeah. Because I didn't have, we'd laid off our team at that point. I was moving on to other stuff after LL, which LL is still in operation, by the way, for anyone listening. But it's off the side of the desk now, kind of. But we almost didn't do it. And shout out to Amy, because you pushed for it. I was like, I don't have the capacity for this year. Like, I can't do it, and we can't contribute as much as we did before. So, shout out to Amy. You kind of took it under your wings, and you were like, no, we're going to do this. And
I think that first year, it might have actually been Brett that took a bit more of the lead on that. I know we wanted to do it from from an internal standpoint. We were really wanting to do it because it just was such a good initiative, and just it's the same thing. I think a lot of all of the businesses that are a part of Blue Friday, the reason it's such a brilliant concept is that so many businesses that are sustainably minded have the same problem. And the problem is that as a small business, it's really hard from a financial standpoint to just opt out of Black Friday completely. It might mean for some people trying to get off the ground, the difference between continuing to be able to run their business and having to close. And then when you look at that, you start thinking about, well, if you're a sustainable company and you're not going to be able to operate because you're not financially gaining from the biggest sales day of the year, what good does that do in the long run, right? How if you take away maybe the next 15, 20 years of being able to offer your product, because and the reality is that as a small business, a single day like that can have that kind of an impact, right? And that's the conversation that we've had with so many of the people that participate too. And so being able to still offer kind of tick all the boxes, offer a sustainable product to people who want it, maybe offer it at a discount for people who, it might be a little bit more accessible at that price point, be able to give back to an initiative that we all really believe in, and, still be able to have your business up and running in the long, you're really ticking all of the boxes. So I remember we wanted to run it as an initiative for us, because it just makes sense. This was something where we're like, we'll be on board with this from now until the end of time. I don't ever foresee a time when it doesn't make sense. But I do think that I was probably doing some of the more internal stuff. I was running our socials at the time, getting emails together, stuff like that. I remember you, and I could be wrong, but I'm pointing at Brett here right now, doing more of the external coordination of like getting Blue Friday together and kind of reaching back out to maybe past participants and stuff like that.
I just reached back out to people. There was a few people interested. I knew it wasn't going to be like that big for 2020, but then we had a new point of contact at Surfrider. I can't remember her name. Oh no,
Lily.
No.
Sally?
Sally McIntyre.
Yes.
Sorry,
South Island Surfrider.
South Island Surfrider. Yeah, so Surfrider Victoria chapter. And she was a saving grace too, because she was super fired up. She's like, I heard about what you guys did last year. I was thinking of reaching out, but I wasn't sure if you guys were, I didn't know who to talk to, yada, yada, yada. So we got her, and she was just like a powerhouse that year. So with her combined, and then, I think she actually, we went and we filmed all the sea bins, right, at the North Sandwich Marina. Curtis did that sweet little edit for us.
Yeah, we saw the
video.
install. We got to see it installed.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
So that was the first time of, like you said, it's really nice to be able to donate to something and see the tangible result.
Yeah.
And we got to go that next year, and we're like, Sally was like, yeah, here's the result from the last 2 sea bins of the money that you guys donated the year before, and here's some data that we have. And now, hopefully with this next year, we can do 2 more sea bins, and, this is how we're going to, or I might be actually misremembering that. I think that they bought the 2 sea bins, and then they installed them that year. So like from the first year, they'd taken the money, they bought them, and then we watched them get installed.
That sounds about right. I feel like it always takes a bit of time.
We're mixing the first 2 years together, but
Yeah, over the first 2
years, there was 3 Siemens installed.
exactly, yeah, 3
Yeah,
Siemens.
looking at it,
And that's the cool. I think that's the cool thing, and that's why we kind of started with Seabins, because it was something that was very measurable. So it literally per Seabin, 1.5 tons of marine waste removed out of the ocean per year.
Yeah.
So those were installed over. We're at like probably more than 10 tons of marine waste now.
Yeah.
Since we installed those that have been removed directly from the Blue Friday initiative, which I think is just such a powerful and like just a wicked message that, it's going to be interesting to see like, the dollars that were donated and how those actually affect, in our case, marine debris removal, which is kind of what we've been focused on since inception. So,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and if
it was
like everybody that's listening, go check out the Seabin. I think it's just seabinproject.com.
also if you just Google even just sea bins,
project,
they'll
see
come
what they
up.
are. It's basically like a
it's an ocean
Skimmer.
Yeah,
it's like a skimmer.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like a pool skimmer.
Pool skimmer on steroids. That sits in the marina and slowly just siphons everything through it. They're pretty mesmerizing to watch. It's a lot of fun to just sit there and watch them do their thing.
Yeah.
and
They filter oil everything. Like it's oil. It's all of the styrofoam that we collected, which led to the EPS foam dock replacements. Right.
So
The
that's what I was just
following
going to
year.
say is working with Surfrider and Sally and installing those 3, we found out the data that Brett mentioned that was coming back was, I'm not going to remember the number. What was it, like 70% or something?
I want to say
70 to
even
80%.
80.
70 to
yeah.
80% of what was being cleaned out of the ocean was the foam from encapsulated styrofoam docks.
Yeah, unencapsulated.
Unencapsulated, yes.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
just
those-
like basically raw styrofoam. You'll see it if anybody's here on probably anywhere on the West Coast, East Coast. Go to a marina, you will see unencapsulated foam, just raw foam everywhere, and it's leaching into the water. And it's probably stuff that everyone has noticed, and you might not have known, because I know I've seen it in my life. I didn't really know what it was. Like I saw it on the beaches out in Jordan River. I saw it in Renfrew. These little pieces of foam, and I was like, I wonder what that is.
It's
Because they disintegrate,
it's
right?
like
It slowly disintegrates.
You know when you buy a light fixture and it comes in, so for everyone who doesn't, because I didn't know what this was when we first started, but when you buy a light fixture and you pull it out and there's that white foam that literally like you blow on it and it like explodes and just goes everywhere. That is essentially what they were building docks out of. In the ocean.
The floats for the
flotation,
docks.
the part that is in the water. That's essentially what they were.
Unencapsulated.
Yeah, unencapsulated. So just like raw dogging it right on like in the ocean. This foam.
And
It's
like
just like
salt water too, so it's like going to just disintegrate even faster.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate to be critical, people, but whoever had that idea was really fucked up. Yeah,
Just
big time. But
seems like an obvious no go, but
yeah. But so that's what a lot of docks are made out of on the West Coast. So 70 to 80% of what was being collected by the sea bins was this foam. And we also found out by talking to the marina that it's like
what is it, like 50 grand?
It was very expensive to do replacements.
Yeah, to replace a single dock that one boat would use, it was 50 grand.
Right.
And it's the responsibility of the slip owner or the boat owner to replace it themselves if they want.
Yeah. So now you're getting into the world of like local government legislation to force private owners to replace their own docks, their own floating docks at a potential cost to them as a personal person.
Yeah.
For $50,000,
Yeah.
and you know what the answer is going to be from all of them. Like, if it's not a law, they're just going to be like, "Well, screw this."
That's probably worth more than the boats in many cases that are like stored in them. So, yeah, that's really kind of a unique situation and policy situation there. But we should definitely stop making docks out of this. That should be
that should be the
which
first
I know
thing.
surf riders were working on that. But yes,
This is one of the things that I love though about being a part of Blue Friday year over year is that we've been able to kind of follow along a story of learning new things from each project that we've done and taking those like findings and directing our course to focus on a project that makes sense in the grand scheme of things. So, learning that foam was the number one problem that was coming out of these sea bins rather than, for the third year in a row, installing more sea bins. They're still great, but we had a conversation and thought, well, is there a way that you can get to the root of the problem? Is there a way that we can help like subsidize the cost of having to replace these flotation devices? And I remember in the beginning it being a really interesting conversation because it was tricky because when we were originally, I think, talking about that maybe being an option, we were talking about the marina here, and then, how does that work when it's something that's private? Are we gonna, and then whose floats do you choose? And then that gets really messy. But we were luckily directed towards a different Surf Rider chapter who happened to be, I think, kind of in like the middle of fundraising, if I remember correctly, where they were going to fall short of one of their goals. Is that right? For Surf Rider Pacific Rim, they'd reached a part of their funding for replacing the foam at a public dock.
They wanted to do the Tofino First Street
dock.
So
Yeah.
that's what it was. Like, we reached out to Sally. Sally was like, "I'm maxed out. I'm actually kind of scaling back on my work." But talk to Pacific Rim, Tofino, chapter of Surf Rider. And just, I feel like it was one of those things where they, I think, had been talking to the Victoria chapter. They knew about the sea bins that had been installed, and they were using the data collection, but also seeing for years and years of what had been going on in their local waters. Like, they obviously knew about the unencapsulated foam dock, so it's not like it was new information to them. But when we told them what we were up to and what we wanted to do this year, they were like, we kind of have this project that's probably going to be like 40 grand or whatever it was, like a pretty large sum of money. And they were like, we want to replace the entire dock structure. There was other structural problems, but the entire dock is sitting on these unencapsulated foam flotation devices. So it was just perfect. We were like, okay, year 3 done. Let's do that. We're just going to push all our money towards that cause. And off we went for our third year. And that was wild to see how many people came in. Now we've got kind of 3 years of the story. So we're telling the story on our social, we're sharing it around, and you're starting to see these bigger businesses come online, which was really cool for the first time to see bigger businesses that we didn't have a personal connection with. Be like, hey, we want to get in. We see what you guys are doing. There's credibility now because the money that you guys have been raising, you can see, you can see the piles of foam that have been collected. You can see the sea bins. There's a picture of the dock that's going to get replaced. And it was this really beautiful story that everybody, not just the businesses, but the customers could identify with and follow along. Which I know for me as a customer, when I hear like a sustainability initiative and I can't quite see the story, it can be confusing, right? Donating to something and you're like, but what's it really doing? Like you said, you're just like,
yeah, that's a lot of the time is you're just kind of, it just sits in the ether. I've donated into this and I know they're doing good stuff, but I don't really know what's happened with my money.
right.
Yeah, there's not the transparency or the tangibility aspect of it.
And we've, for our 4 years now, we've kept it as all volunteer. So
no
we
one's getting
have
paid.
like 0 overhead costs.
Yeah.
So when Brett's saying we, Brett and I have also become co-coordinators now for Blue Friday.
Yeah, so back it up a little bit. After year 2, we had
we had year 1 and 2. Year 1 was, well, both were successful, but year 2, particularly in the middle of COVID, was a little bit less.
About 10 grand in year 2.
About 10 grand in year 2. Yep.
Yeah.
And then still funded the installation of those 3 C bins across those 2 years. I can't remember if it was 2 and then 1 or 1 and then 2.
It was 2 and then 1.
And then 1.
Yeah.
And then I think I remember too, the pandemic was, technically it was obviously less funding.
Yeah.
But I remember having conversations with Brett, and it also felt very much like the good news and the pick-me-up that a lot of small businesses needed after going through a really tough
True,
year.
we had a lot of press coverage, and people were stoked.
Even though people maybe weren't as able to contribute as much financially, I think it was this idea of also community and coming together that everybody was really struggling with, from having almost, we're going on like 8 months probably at that point of lockdowns and the really peak of COVID. So I think even though it was less money, I feel like there's also a very beautiful story of coming together for that year too, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was great.
I love that. I don't even think I ever thought about that or identified that, but it's But small businesses like feed off each other, and having that almost like mutual mentorship, which I know the 3 of us have really had over our careers, which kind of like coincidentally all started around the same time. It's super powerful and motivating, and like when you have those days where you get 50 no's at surf shops or whatever it might be that you're failures, like it's really it's important to have that like sense of community. So I never thought about that. That's a really good point. Amy.
So then year 3.
Year 3.
You're saying that we got some businesses on board that it exploded in year 3.
Yeah.
Just the activity around it. 40 businesses, $40,000, give or take. That's basically how it worked out. And that money went to the Mears Island dock, and we were able to completely, or Surfrider, not we donated the money, and Surfrider took that money, and they were able to completely rebuild that dock. Is that the only dock that?
No, so what ended up happening was
pictures of the second one.
we were able to. So I think the goal was to raise like $10,000 to $12,000. That's what Surfrider needed to replace the First Street dock in Tofino. That was their initial goal.
Because they had some partial funding for that.
Because they had partial
What you said,
funding from somewhere else, and then Blue Friday came around, and we had a really awesome phone call with them. Not phone call, a video call, where we got to inform them that we actually smashed our goal and raised just over $40,000. And then we had to figure out, well, what do we do collectively with them with this overage, because all the businesses committed with this very specific project in mind. So it was a bit of a blessing and a curse, because it's super exciting to raise all of this money, but you also want to honor the commitments that these brands have made and not do a complete pivot into a different world. And then, some of these brands might come back and say, I don't think anyone would actually do this, but there's, the possibility that someone could say, well, you know what? I didn't agree to fund this specific project. I agreed to fund this other one, right? So having that conversation with them, and luckily, so the First Street dock is a public dock. And it was a much bigger project. So when we'd had conversations with them, I remember them saying that this could be a whole year before we were able to go through with all the logistics and city approval. I think what ended up happening too is once they got into sort of city approvals, they realized that the dock was in much worse shape than they thought it was in.
Structural problems.
And structural problems.
Need to be rebuilt, not just the encapsulated foam.
Yeah, so it turned into a bit of a bigger project than they thought it was going to. So they knew what funding they needed to complete that. And then they also had been speaking with different, organizations and people kind of around Tofino, and I think had already been speaking to like the tribal parks, which is where the Mears Island Big Tree Trail dock is, and knew that they would be looking for help maybe with funding replacing their unencapsulated foam, because this particular dock is on First Nations land, and it's also the main access point for a really, really awesome and popular tourist destination that also contributes to the First Nations economy and their tribal parks there and everything. I feel like there's a much better description on our website because it makes sure that I don't jumble anything up.
Blue-Friday.ca.
Yeah, exactly. And so because that was a smaller project, they were able to complete that first. So that's already been done. We've got all the photos. I think they're actually up on the website as well, where you can see the replacement. I think that the first street dock is like chugging along. I don't think it's complete yet, though.
Yeah.
I think they're hoping, and
Yeah, and we knew that was going to
kinda-
be
yeah.
a longer. We knew that was going to be a longer project, but
Yeah, initially they were like 10 to 12 grand to replace the unencapsulated foam, and then I think with the structural issues, they're like it might be 100, which is makes sense when you look at the size of one of these docks and it's got two
yeah,
levels on it.
these aren't your like cottage docks.
No,
Like,
this
these
is like
are
transportation,
enormous.
yeah.
Yeah, these are like
It's-
enormous. Infrastructures.
Yeah, and it's a really important dock too because all of the smaller islands that are around Tofino there use that as a landing spot to.
To the main
I want to say access the mainland, but we're also an island, so
access,
you know what I mean,
access
though.
the main island.
Yeah.
The main big island.
Yeah.
Right.
There's bigger islands and smaller islands. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, we were actually able to basically replace two of the foam floats, which
Yeah.
is really cool. At two very, sounds like from what we've learned from Surfrider, very pivotal locations
Yeah.
too, which is awesome.
Yeah. And now it's 2022. We're doing it again, year 4. And what are we doing this year?
Yeah. So this
You want
year,
me to dive
yeah,
in?
I'm
You
gonna
wanna
try to
take
get.
this
I'll
one?
try to take this
'Kay.
one.
And then
So
maybe tack onto it.
So a lot of the foam that they take out of the ocean, that's cleared out of the ocean, whether it's cleaned up off beaches or it's cleaned up by sea bins or whatever method that it's removed from the ocean, the next problem that we often face is the processing of this. Where does it go? Landfill is not the greatest spot for it. A lot of this can be recycled, but it needs to meet specific requirements in order to be recycled. Compression, size, it has to be shipped from the island, in our case, to the mainland. And the infrastructure in order to have the foam processed is really the next difficulty, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were working with Surfrider and our partners that we've partnered with for the last 3 years of Blue Friday, and again continuing on that story of understanding, not necessarily being a band-aid fix, but trying to address the core issues at the core issues of the foam and marine debris problem. We are now building with Surfrider. Well, Surfrider is building. We're attempting to fund the construction of a foam processing facility in Tofino, which will allow them to process marine debris, ship it to the mainland, compress it, and allow it to be recycled after they've removed it from the ocean.